Hi, this is Omar Khalifa, the CEO of iAccelerate, and welcome to another session of iAccelerate Remote, where we speak to founders of companies who are dealing with the current crisis of COVID and also looking at how their businesses have changed and altered as a result of that, but also talking to them about some of the issues that they are dealing with themselves. Today we have Deanna and Chris from AllCare, and they're going to talk to us about their situation and also introduce us to their company and what they do. So Deanna, welcome.
Hi, thank you very much, Omar, for having us. So this is AllCare is an in-home aged care agency that's based in the Illawarra, southwest Sydney and down the Shoalhaven. I was in the aged and disability sector for over 20 years, and Chris approached me about 5 years ago now and said whether I wanted to come in and do a joint venture in disability services. I basically said no way with the NDIS at that stage, didn't actually believe it would work, but I think there was a lot of teething problems that were going to be faced, and which worked out pretty much correct. And then I was working for a church-based organisation and just felt they weren't heading in the right direction of person-centred care and become a very big business. And just had a couple of meetings where I wasn't happy at work and happened to run into Chris again, and we were just having a chat, and he said, there's this iAccelerate program, and I was like, what's that? And then he talked about, I don't know, and I was really reluctant, in the sense of not enjoying your job for that week doesn't necessarily mean quitting a position you've been in over 10 years. He spoke about software and being able to make some real business changes to a sector that was very labour intensive. So I kind of jumped in, and this is Chris.
Hey, how you going? My name's Chris. I'm one of the co-founders of AllCare. Yeah, so originally we set out as a company to build technology. So first and foremost, that was the mission, kind of vision for us, is to build a technology platform that would coordinate the delivery of in-home care. And as we started out, as most startups do, we had a very kind of clear business plan that we wanted to execute on, and stumbled into many roadblocks as we tried to roll out our business plan, and things didn't quite go kind of as we envisaged. We just decided, I think, quite ambitious startups, can be, and we're no different. So we decided that we would go ahead and build our own kind of in-home care service delivery capability. And with that, we went to the Department of Health, got accreditation ourselves to provide in-home care. And, that was a better part of 2 years ago now, and certainly haven't looked back since.
So tell me a little bit more about the value proposition that you're offering that wasn't there before.
So for us, a big part of it was we wanted to allow clients to have choice and control over the care that they were going to receive. So for us, our value prop was there was the choice and control piece, where we truly wanted the care recipients to be in control of all aspects of their care, from picking the care workers that they wanted to come into their homes to provide their care, to the type of care that they wanted to receive. And so there was that kind of element to it. And the second bucket for us was really the cost. So as Deanna said at the introduction, this is a very labour intensive sector. And so all of the back office functions, providers really struggle with how to drive down those unit costs, because at the end of the day, you have a finite kind of budget. And every time you take money out of that budget to invest in back office functions, it's less care that's left over for care recipients. And you're not putting money back in the care budgets. And so for us, we really, very early on, decided technology was going to be a focus for us in really driving down the intensity of those back office functions.
And what that's also built on is that being flexible and quite responsive. As we've grown, to be able to still be that responsive and timeliness in changes and flexibility in service delivery. It's being able to use technology and empowering technology to make those things happen for our clients. So we've actually now been able to do it because of the products that we've actually developed to enhance those responsivenesses and that control to the client. So that's been really pleasing.
Yeah, so let's go back and talk about the challenges, because even though you're in Wollongong, you were actually challenged early on, like some of our other founding businesses down in Bega, because the fires really did impact your business. So why don't you take us through what happened there, and then we'll move forward to then what happened after that was obviously with COVID.
I guess to set the picture, we have clients down in Shoalhaven. Clients have dementia. Some clients have no carers at all. So we were their main circles of support. We had the anxiety of clients not knowing, are their lives in danger. For a lot of our clients, it was about their pets, let alone their belongings and things. So it was looking at our risk management plans. It was looking at our communication. So there were a whole lot of things we didn't necessarily, because we've never experienced before, to go through that. So having to, I guess, think on our feet at times, having to be connected as an executive team to make some decisions down on the ground, also to think outside the square. on how we could be responsive to these clients, and each client was different. And so how could we support individuals on how they were coping was one of our biggest things.
So triggering the risk plans for us meant that those plans had to be in place from the get-go. So I think one of the key lessons for me out of the whole experience over the holiday period was we really have built to scale. So we've absolutely taken the time to invest very heavily in our governance infrastructure and make sure that we kind of have all of those decision-making matrices in place, so that I think I personally viewed it as a hypothetical. So one day we may well need to trigger these continuity risk plans in the event something were to happen. I don't think, if someone had said to me 18 months ago that we would be triggering them twice in an 18-month period, that I would have agreed that that was a realistic kind of possibility. But we very much invested very early in doing very thorough risk planning and making sure that we had very robust kind of governance controls that, would allow us to be responsive. And that, that's from everything from changing how the care workers are providing the care and being much more responsive and targeted, as also collapsing decision-making in on the executive team. So having a couple of key people that actually have authority to make decisions quickly. So it's literally, rather than a phone call and 4 meetings and 5 approval processes to make a decision, there are just a number of key people that have authority to make decisions and feel supported and empowered about those decisions that they've made, knowing that they have the support of the executive behind them to go forth and provide if the decisions are being made in accordance with the plans, then go forth and execute on those decisions.
Also using technology and different apps that we've been able to communicate with one another quickly, and getting those communications out to the whole team, and being able to listen to these coalface workers who were in Kalala Bay or down at Fisherman's Paradise, that they could actually go straight to the top and actually have communication with the executive team, and us then bring those decisions down. And it just meant that it was a real team environment. Everyone felt supported, because not only were we dealing with clients, we also had our workers who were in that same boat. It was a real teamwork environment, but also it was quite interesting that the care workers came back and was saying how supported they felt through the whole process. So it wasn't necessarily just about our clients, it's about our staff.
You've hit on a couple of themes that seem to have come from a number of the discussions, and one of them is the investment in the future, and that you sort of decided that something you were going to need it later, and why not put it in place now? And that seems to have sort of really proven itself as, giving you that additional chance to get on top of things when they do happen, rather than at that point trying to scramble to put them in place. So it's an interesting something that we have seen. And you talk a lot about the empowerment of your staff, empowerment of people to make decisions, which is really interesting, because you're still a relatively small company, but nonetheless you need people to not have to constantly check in to figure out if they can make a decision, and you've obviously gotten yourself there. COVID comes and it's hit us, it's hit you. As far as our businesses and the way we are able to work with each other. So you were a little bit sort of, you'd gotten the warning shot and sort of managed through that. That seemed to have carried you through. Is that the way you'd look at it?
I think I was lucky, and I'm really I look at I have a list of things that I'm grateful for, and I can say I was really grateful for Chris a couple of times on my list. One was around our communication and technology. I was always complaining about our telephone system and the fact that we use mobiles and clients weren't being able to get through, and how our relationship works is I talk about a problem and Chris comes up with a solution at times. And so we were quite lucky in the fact that I was saying I need a solution-based system where I can actually receive a phone call on my mobile and forward that mobile call to the person that they need to speak to. And at first I got a few blank stares, and I'm not sure that exists and things. And then our business side of things sort of toggled off and came up with a little app called SpokePhone, which is a New Zealand-based company. The fact that we are working in clients' homes all the time for both our case managers and our CSWs, it just meant to actually have a system that could be brought into the office but also into clients' homes was really important. So we had the technology before this actually started.
Technology infrastructure that I think really have helped us get through kind of the start of COVID. I certainly don't think we're at the end yet, but we focused a lot as a company on cloud-based digital solutions. So which I think it's quite common in the startup space, but certainly for home care providers, it is quite novel to have nobody in the office and have very few staff in the office permanently, and have people kind of flexible working arrangements, people coming and going from the office at times that suit them. It's very much a static 9-to-5 based industry. And I think we were very clear from the offset that our vision for the company was an all roles flex workplace, and so we wanted staff to feel comfortable to work from home or work from a location of their choosing at a time that suits them. And the two kind of buckets of stuff you've got to make work when you do that is you obviously have to have the technology infrastructure that allows you to do that, as well as that culture that really embraces flexible working. And I think we're very, very lucky that we've invested a lot in cloud-based technology solutions that have meant that for many of our team members, there's been very little change for them. The reality is the BAU jobs that they were doing, they were working from home a lot before, and we absolutely had a culture of point-to-point communication that allowed us to do that.
So from day one, we went from a let's trial the system and everyone worked from home today. I think that was on a Tuesday. And then I think iAccelerate closed on the Thursday. We went, well, that worked. Stay home. Stay home, everybody. But more importantly, like some of the feedback from talking to the clients, they've seen no difference. They can phone us, the 1300 number. It's answered 24 hours a day. They're getting a response where we're supporting them at 11 o'clock at night to 9 o'clock in the morning. So they're still getting that timely response. They're still feeling supported even when they're high anxiety, like they've got high anxiety. And that's because of the empowering technology. So it's made us actually be more client focused, if anything, because that's one of our differentials is why should you pick All Care, is the fact even through these periods, you're going to have we're still that circle of support. We're still at your fingertips. We're at the end of the phone call with programs, cooking programs. We're coming up with a CSW, which is a community worker, sitting with them, taking photos of old photo albums and digitalising it and sending it to loved ones. We've gone in and given lessons on how to Zoom, how to use Facebook. So we've got a client whose son's in Canada at the moment in isolation that couldn't fly back due to work. And they're actually speaking to one another every day. So we've opened different doors and different avenues. So we might not be doing the same work, but we're actually doing the same amount of work. And we're still actually growing in this environment. And it's due to our reputation with what we call the gatekeepers. They can see we're still engaging with them. We're still doing the healthcare through the iPads and things and supporting that. So that's been pleasing to see that we've just been able to be so agile at this stage on a bigger scale. It's been wonderful.
It's one of my favorite quotes was Ansel Adams. Did black and white photos mostly in Yosemite, and they made famous ones about a lot of the mountains there. And people were wondering how he got these amazing shots of the moon rising just over the crest of the mountain and all of that. And they say, how can you be so lucky to get that shot? And he said, well, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And it's always stuck with me that oftentimes you make your luck in a way by being ready for things that happen, and then when they do happen, well, it's you're there when others wouldn't be. So you obviously exemplify a lot of that. Maybe just in closing up, if other founders are out there and either they're just about ready to think about jumping in or not, a little put off by the fact that they're in this crisis moment, is there a word of insight, wisdom, or encouragement you would offer them?
The biggest thing for me as a startup has been having so many balls in the air at the same time. And I'd personally gone from showering someone to doing timesheets to then developing policies and procedures. And even amongst all this, we went through a government audit because we're a bit crazy. And it's about time for reflection and time. Some of those things you may have skimmed over before because of time, to go back and readdress those. So we're going back and looking at our training and what we can do, and actually looking at webinar-based training modules, which will help in the long run in those things where you probably didn't think you had time before. You can do that. And it's not necessarily a negative thing. It can be a positive in the end. And that enthusiasm and dedication will get you through. You may have thought that your timeline was going to be finished by June. It might be December instead. But when you're 20 years down the track, and if you're passionate and you're actually doing the things that you love doing, 6 months isn't going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think the thing I say is I see it as every crisis creates opportunity, right? So I think it's easy to view kind of what's happening around you kind of as it's a detriment and a roadblock from you getting from point A to point B. But as Dee said, I'm a true believer in slowing down to speed up. I think that the COVID-19 kind of pandemic has shown that there's a lot of commercial opportunity out there, and I think the world is going to change irrevocably as a result of what is going on. And for startups out there and for startup founders that are kind of either losing faith kind of where they're going or are on the fence about jumping in, I would say it's just, this will be a roadblock amongst many. Like, this is not an insurmountable thing. It's just, for some organizations, it's a really big thing. For other organizations, it's relatively minor. There will always be something, and there will always be an obstacle or an excuse. And I think this is just one of many that will come up in your journey. And it's not a reason to not continue or to not get started. I think it's just something else that will be in the way, and it's to be worked through, resolved, and tackled the same way that any other problems.
Well, it's been wonderful to have you as founders and as a business at iAccelerate. We've really enjoyed having you around and having you also share your stories, not only with us, but also with the other startups around and helping them through their early stages. Well done. Congratulations on how far you've gone so far and having maintained your ability to get through this phase. I'm sure you'll be encouraging other ones through this video to do the same. So once again, thank you. And this is Omar Khalifa with iAccelerate Remote. We'll see you next time.